If you go in with a communicative approach to an IELTS classroom, it will not work because the students will just wonder what you're doing and why you're doing it. And for the people who are there in that classroom and they've only got a couple of weeks before they're taking that test, it might be a bit of a waste of time because your aim as a teacher is to get them ready for the test. One of the main things is that the students are there and they're not there necessarily, ironically, to improve their language skills. Their focus is completely on the test. So if you go into too much detail and you include too much pair work, even task-based approach, is not necessarily what is required in a classroom like this. But again, it's a bit of a fear that a teacher is going to lose their self when they go into an IELTS classroom and they're not going to be able to do any language teaching. So there is a balance. You can use communicative activities as long as you are really making it clear to the students all the time, this is what part of this test it applies to. Why are we doing this? Because it might come up in this part of the test. Practice tests have absolutely got a place in the classroom, absolutely. But if that is all you do, then you're not going to help anyone develop the skills they need and the language they need. It's the same idea as many people think if they just take an official IELTS test every 2 weeks. Somehow, as if by magic, their score is going to improve by the 3rd or 4th test that they do it. And if you're not doing any work in developing your language, in thinking about your approach to the test, you're not going to get there necessarily. You're not going to make that improvement. And one of the things that Mindset does is it takes those task types that you will get in the exam and it replicates them, but it supports the learner. It supports your exam skills development, your techniques, and also in terms of the language, what language you're going to need to have a successful test and not need to do it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. Aim for one test, but get good at it. I think because of what we're dealing with here, the type of text that the students are going to be writing, it's like any test or any exam in any subject. If you know what the examiners are looking for, then you can develop your technique and think, right, well, I need to show that I can do this because that's what they want to see. And that's the job of the teacher. That's the job of the teacher, is to say, this is what will help you to get a good score. This is what helps you to improve your score. This is the reason why you're doing this, because the examiner is looking for a particular thing. The examiner in the writing might be looking for the way that you develop a paragraph. So that's what the teaching should inform, and if the students know or have a good idea of what they have to do to impress an examiner, that can only be a good thing. IELTS classes can be really difficult to manage because you often have that rolling induction and you have people there, number one, who are often at different levels, different language abilities, so managing that is a problem. Differentiation is so important, it's vital in an IELTS class. You really need to know who your students are, why they're doing the test, what's the motivation behind it, and once you know that, then you'll be able to tailor your class to them. You might have in one class a student who is a very, very strong B2 level with somebody who's at an A2 level, and it's a big jump. So you need to know who they are, because it's all about that differentiation, and that's really something we try to build into the writing of Mindset, so that you can cater for this learner and help them to get where they need to go. The worst thing that can happen in a classroom is that a student thinks, why am I doing this? Just show me what to do. I want to take the test. Give me some test practice. So the way to get around that is to indulge, I suppose, that level of, okay, here's how we go from one level to another. We upgrade the language like this. But always, always, always give it back to the students. How is this relevant to the test? Which part of the exam? So maybe you have had a 5-minute discussion with some nice vocab on the board, but give it back to them. What is this useful for that we've just done? And get them to think of parts of the test that they can apply it to. You've got to keep these people in your class on board, and you've got to be their guru. But if you keep asking them, signposting all the way, how is this relevant? What part of the test does this come up? How is what we're doing in the class going to help you? Because that enables them to build the understanding of the test, their trust in the teacher, and it just gives them confidence that everybody knows we're going in this direction.